Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, journalists, welcome to a special episode of Tatami Talk. Today we have special guest Eduardo. He trains out of Pasadena Judo, and the reason we're doing this episode is because they're going to do a joint clinic for the blind out of Hollywood Blvd. So it's Sports and Recreations Clinic for the blind, and that's going to be held on the 3rd, correct?
That's correct. This is Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon.
All right, great. So what is this? What's this happening? Is this like for beginners and beginner people that are blind that want to get into judo, or for judo players that are blind that want to get a practice in?
It is a clinic, and the overwhelming majority are complete novices. Mm-hmm. So we have all ages of athletes come, and this is, I think, our 4th or 5th clinic now, and some of the participants have come to all of them. So they have 4 or 5 practices under their belt. Okay.
And for these people that are novices that just joined, do they get into it and join a dojo, or do they only come to the clinics? How's this working out for you guys?
Right now, I think we have athletes who are only interested in, well, I won't say that they're only interested, but they're only coming to the clinics. One of the challenges we have is the rollout of adaptive judo to individual clubs. Mm-hmm. So I have referred some of our athletes to direct clubs in their vicinity, but most of the time the senseis have no idea what to do with a blind student. Mm-hmm. So we're sort of rolling out where we give support to that dojo. Mm-hmm. And depending on how open they are, most of them have been very, very open to catering to all adaptive type judo athletes. Okay. The blind judoka is easier than, for example, some of the special needs that have mental challenges and emotional challenges, in that the blind people have, regular mental facilities. They can follow instruction, all that sort of stuff. But there are obviously challenges that the normally sighted people can't ever appreciate unless they've lost their sight, which is actually the number one health concern for Americans, and that is losing their vision.
Mm-hmm. Now, you speak about adaptive judo. Now, for our audience out there that doesn't know what that is, what is adaptive judo?
Adaptive judo is a movement that changes the practice of judo to suit different categories of people. So under adaptive judo, we might have, again, the mentally challenge individuals with what we used to call special needs judo. They would be people who have Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, even Asperger's, and different types of autism. So we have to change how we play judo, considering their needs. For example, they don't like being touched around their neck, etc. Adaptive judo, of course, is contested in the Special Olympics, not Special Olympics, but the Paralympics. So after the Olympics every 4 years, there's a period where they have sporting events for people with disabilities. In judo, it's blind judo, basically. So they don't have categories for judoka who have missing limbs or emotional problems or anything like that. It's basically blind judo for the Paralympics. Okay. Other forms of adaptive judo are obviously for deaf people, and this is a little bit provocative, for veterans. So when you get to be my age, you can compete in judo. They call veterans, and they have age categories that go up every 5 years. So I'm just 65 now, and I am now category M8. I believe they call it.
Masters 8. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
they have special rules for veterans. For example, after 60, you can't do shimewaza because of the possible loosening of plaque in your carotid arteries. And you loosen up plaque, it gets into little bits, goes to your brain or goes to your lungs, and it'll kill you. So adaptive judo is all about changing the rules slightly so that everyone can participate. And of course, the IJF just rolled out their year with their theme of inclusion. So this is what it's all about, including everyone that we can. And we have the patience and the foresight to develop programs for people with disabilities. It's a better world. And, of course, we're talking Jita Kyoe, mutual welfare. So it's very, very important that we provide these benefits to all people, whether they have regular vision or they're blind, completely blind, or somewhere in between.
So how did this partnership between Pasadena Judo and Hollywood PAL come about for this blind judo program, for these clinics?
Well, again, Michael Verdugo, the sensei, the head instructor of Pasadena Kodokan Judo, is very familiar with people with disabilities. Mike is, he lives the Jita Kyoye mutual welfare maxim of judo. He wants everyone to participate, and he's extremely gifted in intellect, in just his dedication to it. So Mike grew up with someone who was deaf, apparently, and he is fluent in American Sign Language. So he had an idea to really serve the adaptive judo community. And he teamed up with a judoka who is visually impaired, and we call it visually impaired or VI judo sometimes, because most of the participants are not completely blind. But Rolando Romero is a black belt competitor, and he recently competed in the Texas tournaments, both the President's Cup and the Dallas Open. So he competed in both the VI categories and regular sided categories, which is possible. Okay. As long as some adaptation is made to the rules and the refereeing of the program. So Rolando is the founder and president of Sports and Recreation for the Blind. And he also facilitates other sports for blind individuals as well, like goal ball, and they have recreational activities. They have blind soccer and things like that. So interesting. He's doing a tremendous job in reaching out. And I don't know how he contacts all these people, but it's great fun when we convene one of these clinics. We have little kids, we have adults, we have housewives who come, and they just love the exercise. Okay. Now at the clinic, it's a blind judo clinic. Like you said, you had beginners and people had been there before. What do you guys do at the clinic? Like, do you teach the rules? Like, what's a throw? What's the first throw you guys teach them actually? That's actually very interesting. Well, as any novice judo athlete, we have to teach them how to fall first. That's a tremendous accomplishment for them. Being especially totally blind, it's scary to not know what's going on. Oh, yeah. Especially with your body. So we have to take care to have a great orientation in the dojo. So they are first given a tour of the facility where they can touch things, where they can space things out in their head. We always have an auditory signal that's given out that stays in one place. So in other words, we'll set up a boombox at the front of the dojo so that they can hear that while they're playing and spatially orient themselves. I like to use a metronome, which is a small electronic device giving out a tick, 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 tick sound. But I think Rolando loves to bring his boombox and have something that keeps the mood up a beat. And so we take a lot of care in teaching them how to fall. And then we start teaching them a simple throw. So it would be like ogoshi.
Okay.
We do osotogari as well. And we bring out the crash mat and we'll have them throw us. We'll have them throw each other. And the last event we did through the Angel Cities organization, we let them go with just some light randori with the staff members. And that was really fun. As in any adaptive sports program, their joy is to be just like everyone else. So when they come off the mat after just playing with another person, a new sport, they're very, very happy. And it does a lot for their self-esteem, as you can imagine.
I think the metronome idea is great because I had a discussion with someone before about playing music potentially in the dojo for blind students. And they're like, well, that might distract other people, or the dojo is really traditional and it might not be okay. And I think the metronome is a really good alternative to playing music.
I agree. That's my preference as well, because there is just a constant noise that it's like white noise for everyone else. But it's really essential for a judoka to have some spatial orientation in the dojo and on the tatami. Without spatial orientation, you would be scared, whether it was a sighted player wearing a blindfold or someone who's completely blind, not knowing if you might hit a wall, not knowing if you might hit another person. You need that orientation, and it's very crucial. So, yeah, I prefer the metronome as well.
Okay. All right. Anthony, do you have any questions you want to ask? I know you have some things.
No, I think that's really good. But if I trained with a blind athlete before, actually, at my old club, and we didn't have any music playing, but there was a helper, like a student that was basically helping her out the whole time. I also trained with a guy that didn't have an arm, and he kicked my butt because this is when I was a white belt. But if someone wants to, like, let's say the club wants to get in on this program and help, like, volunteer or learn more about how to run classes, how would they get in contact with you, or how would they get started? Let's start with if they're within the Los Angeles area, which is where we are now.
Okay. That sort of support is really essential because, again, we have clubs that have an interest, but they don't know the first thing. There was a book written about blind judo called Judo and Blindness by an author in Italy. And unfortunately, it's out of print. And to find a copy of that on Amazon, a used copy, you're going to run like $150 minimum. So I got a copy of that, and I'm trying to publish a booklet, which would be a primer on all types of adaptive judo. In NANCA, the Southern California Black Belt Association, most of the people know Michael Verdugo with Pasadena Kodokan Judo. They can contact him, certainly. Anyone can contact me directly. Probably email is the best, and
I'll put your information in the YouTube description, the show notes, so people can link it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm available to travel. So I referred an athlete who is a Paralympics track athlete. His name is David Brown, and he is the fastest visually impaired athlete in the world. He has the world's record for the 100-meter Dash, and he came to one of our clinics, and he and his wife really wanted to get involved. So I referred him to his local dojo in Chula Vista. And you can just look up what dojos are in certain cities and areas. And the people down in Chula Vista were wonderful. I think it's called Mikoto or Miyoto Judo Dojo. And I called them. I sent them my first draft of my primer to adaptive judo for blind judoka, and they were thrilled. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go down to Chula Vista and meet up with our athlete and the staff and try and make it happen. One of the things was really good that you said, and that was that an adaptive student beat you. This is possible. We call these sort of matches or competitions united matches, in that it pairs someone with a disability with a typical player with no physical disability. And as long as we have rules that can even the playing field to make it happen, it's really great for everyone involved. So we have to have the wherewithal in the judo community that the referees know what's going on. They know how to referee a blind judo match, and that the other players are going to understand that if they are a typical judo player and they are competing against a visually impaired judoka, the referee is going to call mate every time the grip is lost. They have to have full and regulation kumikata, because if you're blind and you lose both hands grip, what are you going to do? You can't go back to your partner or your opponent. You don't know where he is, and that's not really sporting, is it? So there are certain rules and regulations that we can go over that will tell you all the differences when you're playing against a visually impaired judoka. Again, to have them integrated in competition as well as in their training with the regular sighted population of the dojo is ideal, because when you are watching, especially at the higher level, the blind judoka doing newaza, you can't tell that they're visually impaired at all.
One of my favorite matches is there was a Paralympic match in London, I believe, I believe it was London. It was Japan versus Bulgaria, and the Bulgarian guy just kept doing flying arm bars, and I was just freaking amazed at how he's doing it, and the Japanese guy was like defending it the whole time. It was an amazing match. I'll link it in the show notes. It's one of my favorite Paralympic matches ever. Since you brought up refereeing, how many referees do you think? Let's just start with Nanka, right? How many referees do you think in Nanka, in the LA area, Southern California, are actually able to referee these blind adaptive judo matches, and whether in the clinic you guys plan to in the future train more referees or volunteers on how to ref at the different rule changes, basically?
Okay, well, it's hard to know how many referees have experience. I was recently at the Fresno State Collegiate Tournament up here in Fresno, and I wasn't sure that anyone would know how to referee a match with a blind student, and I knew that there was a blind competitor. So I went to the head referee and I told him what was going to happen. And luckily, he had experience in the past, but in the far past. So he wasn't up with every little detail, and I gave him my primer, and he did great. And as a matter of fact, for the blind competitor's second match, we got one of the other referees, a local referee up here in Fresno, to referee his match, and he did great. So, it's just not that hard. It's unfortunately not common. So referees need training. I know there was an effort a couple of months ago to have a clinic for referees that included the blind competitors and the rules that we needed to do. But that fell through, unfortunately. The blind Shiai regulations are made by an organization called IBSA, stands for International Blind Sports Federation. They used to be an association, so it's IBSA. But they get together with the IJF, and they are the governing body for blind judo, whether it's in the Paralympics or in other competitions. As just with the IJF rules, it's mostly that, unless it comes to a particular detail that makes it impossible for a blind athlete to adhere to. And again, rules sort of loosen up on a local level. So when you talk about an international tournament like the one in London or the recent World Championship, which was held in Baku, Azerbaijan, just a couple of weeks ago, they are subjected, the judoka are subjected to the highest scrutiny as far as their disability is concerned. So they have a confirmation period of a couple of days before the tournament where they have to bring in documentation from their physicians, and they may go through cursory examinations by the staff that does the confirmation, which are optometrists and ophthalmologists. Yep.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to give a shout out to one of our previous guests, Liana, who actually medaled bronze at that tournament you're talking about. And I think it's a historic first for American Paralympic. And if you guys also check out that interview, she did mention how cheating was very rampant in the Paralympic judo. So that's why they're tightening the requirements, as you were just saying. So
yes, as a matter of fact, they increased the scrutiny for blind judoka. For blind sports in general, they usually categorized athletes into three categories: B1, B2, and B3, depending on the amount of vision that was usable for them. B1 was for those athletes who were totally blind, basically. They had no usable vision. That being said, 80% of people with vision impairments have usable vision. It's just depending on the amount that they have. So B1, B2, B3 being the people that were really functional. And the IJF and IBSA did a study, took a couple of years, where they changed the requirements. So in judo, they no longer do the B1, B2, B3. They do J1 and J2, which means they increase the standards. And now a lot of the B3 athletes who were in the last Paralympics will no longer be eligible to compete in international competition because they don't make the J2 standard.
If I remember correctly, they also combined some weight classes, right? Because there just wasn't enough competitors, I assume. So they were trying to make it a little bit more competitive in each weight category.
Yes, there are fewer weight categories, especially for the women. But it's the competitive aspect that you're right about. They need people to compete. So especially on the local level, and we see it in regular sided competitors, sometimes they'll combine categories, et cetera, just so that someone will have an opponent out there for an exhibition match or for a particular category.
Yeah, there were a few years ago, I went to President's Cup. I think it was President's Cup, where they had adaptive athletes, like blind athletes, fight regular athletes, and the only difference is they had told them to start with the grips, like right, the whole time. That was the only time. It was amazing to watch how a normal judo match can happen between someone who's blind and someone who isn't, and yeah, it's just amazing. So to add on to my previous question, if people are outside of Los Angeles and they're not part of NANCA or whatever, let's just say they're in a small dojo somewhere in Ohio or something, or Wyoming, how would they still be able to get in contact with you for help, or is there another association they can actually contact?
They are welcome to contact me, but there are other organizations for Blind Judo. The first clinic I attended was also attended by Heidi Moore, who was a coach at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. And I think she was brought in by the American Association of Blind Athletes or something like that. And so they are a great organization, and they can help with all adaptive sports in general. But if you contact them, they will direct you probably to Heidi Moore, who was his coach, and get you some feet on the ground as far as who to turn to. But I think the reason why I chose my focus is the resources just aren't available out there. There's no book other than this book I told you about, Judo and Blindness, that deals specifically with blind judo. There's also a new book or an updated version called The Medical Care of the Judoka that gives some descriptions of health challenges to different segments of the judo community, but that doesn't give out the rules or anything like that. So IBSA is really the organization that you would want to turn to familiarize yourself with rules and things like that. Otherwise, just Google training tips for blind judo, and you'll get a bunch of people who post it online.
Yeah. So I think it was last year, I got a phone call. I was answering a dojo phone, and I got a phone call for someone who was blind that wanted to try out judo. And long story short, he had a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, a lot of worries about whether he'd be holding people back, whether we'd be patient with them, about injuries. And I answered them all. And ultimately, he said he was going to show up. He didn't in the end. I don't know what happened to him. But during that period where I thought he was going to show up, like you said, I tried to do a lot of research on how I'd basically teach the student. And like you said, there really isn't that many resources out there. So I'm really hoping that something would grow out of this, and maybe there would be more documents and videos and classes and workshops available for more instructors to get involved with this. To add on to what I just mentioned, if someone's listening to this, or someone has a friend that is curious, but they had the same worries and concerns, what would you say to them to convince them to try out judo?
Well, we see judo benefiting many people, whether they're sighted or have disabilities. One of the reasons for that is because of the big judo aspect, where we also have our maxims and we also have our spiritual values. So judo is really unique in that that's an integral part of our discipline. And we see judo benefiting regular, physically able kids who are perhaps in trouble in society, the at-risk kids who are in gang territory or something. This sort of discipline and spirituality does them worlds of good and turns around lives. We see a major program for the developmentally disabled community. Riverside Youth Judo has the largest special needs program in the country. And they recently had a tournament where we had competitors from all over the nation show up in Riverside and compete. And the amount of satisfaction with those people, and they were of all ages again, was tremendous. But the thing that you don't really appreciate is that you got these people integrated with the regular dojo community as training assistants, as partners in their united tournaments with them. So we did have some people who were regular, not disabled competitors go up and do matches with the special needs athletes. And that was really wonderful. So judo has two major benefits. One is that it provides exercise. It provides good exercise, cardiovascular exercise, strengthening exercise. And it provides some sort of reward for the self, reward for the spirit. So when you have the self-esteem of accomplishing something, whether you win or you lose, that's a great benefit to you spiritually. And Riverside also did some adaptive judo called Mom Judo, where it was literally what it sounds like. They invited the moms of younger judoka to come up on the mat, and they did a version where it was all newaza. And it was really fun to watch these ladies come off the tatami with the big smiles on their faces. They had self-esteem and they accomplished something, whether they won or they lost. They had a great time. So these sort of benefits should happen for everyone out in society. If we're going to be an inclusive society, we should extend these benefits to people who can't hear, people who can't see, people who can't think on the level that others can. Moms who don't have the ability to train because they're always looking after their kid. People like me who are older, who still in our dreams are pulling off that Ippon Sewa Nagi, like, no one's business. But, when you get older, things just don't work like they used to. So it's a sport that has benefits to everyone, and we just need to get it out there.
So you guys are having the event on, so it's going to be December 3rd. Now I was wondering, like, how'd you guys come up with a date? Because if you're in the LA area, that's the Winter Nationals right there. How'd you guys decide, you know what, I want to go up against Winter Nationals?
Yeah, no, I understand completely about that. I was set to be at all 3 days of the Winter Nationals. They're having on Friday night, the 2nd, a coach and referee clinic. Then Saturday they start competition and it runs all the way through Sunday. However, the dates are determined by, I think, Rolando and the Sports and Recreation for the Blind. Mm-hmm. And that's the date he chose. Yes, I would like to have some separation where they do it on a weekend that's not a major tournament. And hopefully we can in the future. But I think when we do that, we'd really like to see judoka out there. Mm-hmm. We'd like to see people from the community out there, whether they're visually impaired or not. One of the greatest thing about the event that we had at El Camino College with the Angel Cities people is that they asked for volunteers to be sighted guides for the judoka. So when they were doing exercise, even just running around the tatami, they had someone guiding them so that they could run around and not crash into a wall. And I think that's ideal when you have a 1-to-1 ratio of a athlete and a guide. That makes it a little bit easier on everyone. Believe me, the volunteers for guides were so wonderful. They were mostly physical therapists and even physicians that were out there to do their part for adaptive sports. And the blind judo that I mentioned before, who's down in Chula Vista, David Brown, he showed up at the event because it was an event for all adaptive blind sports. and he was going to be a coach for the blind track and field, but they had a lot of people there. So he decided, well, they really don't need me. I'm going to go try blind judo. So he showed up, and he was a fantastic athlete, really, really marvelous. Now he is officially on the blind soccer team for the U.S. So he's just a magnificent physical specimen. And we can see if we adapt things just a little bit for some of the details. Like I said, you can't tell the difference in blind judoka doing newaza with regularly sighted judoka. It is something that's tactile. They need their opponent close to them. Standing doing tachiwaza, you can tell a little bit, especially because the ref is going to stop the match, call mate, whenever they lose their grip. So you can tell. You can also tell the judoka that are completely blind in the J1 category by this, and I'll show you my red patch on my arm. So this signifies someone in the J1 category that has no usable vision. It also has bearing on the international matches where on your back patch, you would wear the red circle on your back patch. So in competitions where they don't use a back patch, obviously they have the one on their sleeve, and it should indicate to everyone in attendance, not just the competitors, but also the referees and people in the audience, that person is completely blind and will probably need assistance. Now, what I see is a typical societal needs as far as approaching, befriending, having blind people in the community. These people are just like everyone else. They want to have friends, they want to be comfortable, and you introduce yourself to them and they'll be your best friend. So if we can help people out in society, we're going to make good friends. And I find that they're extremely appreciative, and they want to be just like everyone else. So getting that into our society is wonderful. And again, it's because of the big judo maxim of mutual benefit.
Well, Anthony, do you have any more questions you want to ask, or?
No. So I guess to summarize, if you guys are free and not going to compete in the Winter Nationals, you're in the area and you're interested, even if you don't do judo, am I correct that they can volunteer and just show up just to help out or check it out?
Absolutely. As I said, we're going to try and schedule these in the future, not to conflict with big judo events. But we do need guides. So if they want to show up, they can go on Facebook, and Sports and Recreation for the Blind has a page. So they can like that page and they'll get updates whenever our next clinics will be held.
Okay. So with that, again, this is going to be held at the Hollywood Blvd Dojo, and I believe that's on Sunset in Hollywood. It's going to be.
Let's just clarify, it's not our Hollywood.
Yeah, it's not Hollywood Judo Dojo.
No, actually, Hollywood Pal has a couple different facilities.
Oh,
the
okay.
actual tatami room, the dojo, is at 6411 Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah. Okay.
6411 Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah. One
And
over.
That's officially in Los Angeles 90028.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what are the times again so people can hear?
9 a.m. to noon.
9 a.m. to noon, December 3rd.
Right. And just like any other athletic event, bring a water bottle, bring snacks. We usually have them. Wear something comfortable. We will have an opportunity. We have a bunch of extra judo-gi jackets, and hopefully at the end we'll be able to put on the jackets. If time allows, we'll have them do some simple newaza as well. So we compact a lot of judo in these few hours, and it's really, really fun. Mm-hmm. So anyone that is interested, please contact me, contact Rolando at Sports and Recreation for the Blind. Of course, our big main inspiration is Michael Verdugo, who's an outstanding man in all respects. He can get you to a team. He can get you information. He can get you connected with me. We're all there to help.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for being on the show, Eduardo. It was great having you here. Again, if you guys have any questions, please contact him. You can contact us. We'll put the stuff out there. It'll be in the details of our show notes on the YouTube channel. And with that, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this. If you have any questions, you hit us up at tatamitalk@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Tatami Talk. You can follow us at YouTube at Tatami Talk. You have any questions for me, any questions for Anthony, you follow me at @Jerry_Juan on Instagram. You follow Anthony at Anthony Throws on Instagram. And with that, we always end the show going like, don't forget to slap the mat. So I'm going to say, don't forget to, and you guys are going to say, slap the mat. All right?
All right.
All right. So don't forget to
slap the mat.